Hello everyone, I'm Rajeshri. A very warm welcome to you all in today's episode, and a huge thanks for being with me in this new experimental musical journey of mine. Just now the recording which I was playing, it is called A Birthday Hansel. Yes, it was composed by one of the Britain's very popular composers, Benjamin Britten, in the year 1975. By now, I'm sure all of you know the title of this episode, which is our late Queen Elizabeth II and her association with Western classical music. And I thought that the little story behind this composition is the most important story I like to share with you all to understand her passion and her strong association, her understanding about Western classical music. 1973, Benjamin Britten actually just completed his opera Death in Venice, and he had an emergency heart surgery, suffered a stroke on the operating table. He just survived, but came out of the hospital as an invalid person almost, often confined to a wheelchair. But worse than that, he had lost his mental stamina. The finest accompanist in England, Benjamin Britten, had abandoned his piano for his own pleasure as well. He lost his confidence. Most of his manuscripts were blank. His friends and family were desperately looking for someone who can recharge his musical battery. And who was the individual? The individual who came to rescue Benjamin Britten was none other than our late Queen Elizabeth II. And in a series of undisclosed handwritten letters, now stored at the Britten Pearce Library in Suffolk, we got to know that she is the one who stimulated him to take up his composing pencil once again and to write one of his most charming song cycles. Normally, letters from Queen are sent on her behalf by a lady in writing, but this was her own doing. She wrote, "Dear Ben, a request to make not as a queen, but as a daughter." Her mother's 75th birthday was coming up in August 1976, and she wanted Ben to write some music for her. She added, "Please try," and guess what happened? Britten took up her offer immediately. He couldn't didn't write a symphony though, but he and Queen exchanged further letters discussing particularly some poems of Robert Burns in honor of the Queen Mother's Scottish blood. The Queen showed enough enthusiasm, and Britten was so fired up that he had already written the music. He was the one who proposed the title, A Birthday Hansel. And Hansel means, in Scottish, a gift to bring someone luck. Now, this manuscript was posted to Queen Mother on her birthday. And Queen Mother, she was sitting one day in her remote hideaway on the north coast of Scotland. She sent Benjamin Britten a 3-page thank you letter. "Dear Ben," she said, "I don't think that I have ever had a more wonderful surprise in my life than the moment when I set eyes on your birthday, Hansel." In Richard Morrison's column in BBC Music magazine, he wrote, he is one of the music critics, chief music critic of the Times, and he's a regular columnist in BBC Music magazine and many other magazines in terms of Western classical music. It was mentioned that Queen, our late Queen Elizabeth II, first attended BBC proms when she was 68 years old. Hence, she wasn't a very avid concert goer. And I just wanted to bring this story up to tell you all that what a humanity and what an understanding of Western classical music our Queen had. Benjamin Britten's mother was a gifted singer, and she nurtured little Ben with an ambition of making him the fourth B after Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, and then Benjamin Britten. She said music was his native tongue and he could harmonize before he could spell. The Queen of United Kingdom and the other Commonwealth realms could have sent a request to any composers of this world. They would have taken it as an honor to write a composition for Queen Mother's 75th birthday. But our Queen chose Benjamin Britten, whose musical talent at that time was needed to be ignited again, rejuvenated again. And she understood that. And it was a success story. So Now, coming back to other bits, what she has done for Western classical music, we need to first know that all her special occasions in her own life actually was associated with compositions from different composers all over the world, and most of them were masterpieces. So the first one was when she was just 4 years old. 1931, Sir Edward Elgar composed a nursery suite for Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret. 1947, it was her 21st birthday when the English composer Sir Arnold Bax wrote another composition called Morning Song. The nickname is Maytime in Sussex. Same year, Bax composes a fanfare for the wedding of Princess Elizabeth to Prince Philip, who was made the Duke of Edinburgh then. 1947, Sir William Mackay writes a motet. We wait for thy loving kindness, O God, for the wedding service as well. 1952, the English composer Herbert Howells wrote a composition, Behold, O God, our defender, on Christmas Day. In 1953, it's a very important year in Queen's life because it is the coronation of our late Queen in Westminster Abbey. 9 composers wrote 10 new works. Among them, Sir Arthur Bliss, who wrote a processional march, Sir William Walton, William Harris, George Dyson, Vaughan Williams wrote O Test and See That the Lord is Good, the music for this hymn. Sir Arnold Bax again wrote the Coronation March, music for the Coronation March. And for Coronation Week, a new ballet and a new opera were written, performed at the Royal Opera House by Benjamin Britten, and it is called Gloriana. Many of you might have heard. And Malcolm Arnold's Homage to the Queen. 1954, Sir Arthur Bliss composed music for Welcome the Queen in celebration of the Queen's return from her 6 months tour of the British Commonwealth. 1961, Benjamin Britten arranged a new version of the national anthem. We all know about that, God Save the Queen, for the Leeds Festival. 1978, Queen's Silver Jubilee. Australian composer Malcolm Williamson composed Mass of Christ the King, which was premiered a year later. 2002, Queen's Golden Jubilee. An unprecedented public concert was given in the grounds of Buckingham Palace, featuring international celebrity performers. 2012 Queen's Diamond Jubilee. 11 composers wrote each movement for the new water music. It was performed on a boat during the Thames Diamond Jubilee pageant. And among those composers, worth mentioning the names Graham Fitkin, Howard Goodall, Gavin Greenway, Christopher Gunning, Stephen Warbeck, and many others. And as Richard Morrison said, that she wasn't an avid concert goer, but Queen is the one who actually first started the medal for music, matching the medal for poetry that had been there since 1930s. And this particular medal has been deliberately awarded to musicians such as the choir trainer Simon Halsey and the Northumbrian pipe virtuoso Catherine Tickle. Heroes who have not necessarily been widely recognized for their great community work. So we can see that she was very much aware how to contribute to this particular genre in a very effective way. Coming back to 2013 for the 60th anniversary of the Queen's coronation, Bob Chilcott composed the music for The King Shall Rejoice, performed during the anniversary service in Westminster. 2014 is a very important year because Queen welcomes the new master of the Queen's music, Judith Weir, the first woman to hold the post during her reign. And she is the one actually who composed another very well-known piece for Queen called By Wisdom. 2016, for the 90th birthday of Queen, Debbie Wiseman composes the celebration suite. Not only that, recognizing musician in her birthday honors list was kind of a ritual. And in that list, Sir Simon Rattle, Dame Emma Kirkby, Fanny Waterman, these are the names who actually got the recognition for their immense service in this particular genre in her birthday honors list. Now coming to another side of her activities in terms of Western classical music is opening and endorsing concert halls, which she has done regularly. And 1967, the Queen Elizabeth Hall at London South Bank is named for Her Majesty, and she opened it. Actually, she was a princess when the neighboring Royal Festival Hall was opened in 1951. She was the patron of 600 musical charities and organizations. Among them, some are worth mentioning: Help Musicians UK, National Brass Band Championships of Great Britain, London Symphony Orchestra, Royal Academy of Music, Royal Choral Society, Associated Board of Royal Schools of Music, and etc. And next thing is attending concerts and other classical music calendar events. She was very much active in that as well. And that she started from a very early age, actually. 1938, she and her sister attended the National Festival of the Schools Music Festival at the Royal Albert Hall with their mother. In 1944, both princes returned to Royal Albert Hall to honour Sir Henry Wood on his 75th birthday. 1952, she attended St. Cecilia Day Concert in aid of the Musician Benevolent Fund at the Royal Festival Hall. In the year 1986, she attended London Symphony Orchestra Gala. 2007, she was treated to an exclusive concert on a Stradivarius at the Royal Academy of Music. And here, it's really important to mention that she herself actually got an honorary bachelor degree in music from the University of London. So she knew a lot about this particular genre. Coming to another part which she was very much enthusiastic about, supporting and maintaining traditional regimental military bands and orchestra. Because the British military, which is also known as Her and His Majesty's Armed Forces, has several bands and orchestras within each of its divisions, like British Army, the Royal Air Force, the Royal Marines, the Royal Navy, including the band of Grenadier Guards. And she was very actively associated with their activities, and she took a lot of interest to find out every time they are doing something new. And the last one is the music associated with Royal Chapel, providing support and maintaining the music associated with Royal Chapel, the spiritual establishment serving the monarch and the royal family. So she was quite active in that as well. And featuring musical instrument and artifacts within the royal collection, this is another thing she wanted to do. So in Buckingham Palace, we can see that a stunning organ in the ballroom and her gold grand piano and a flute, a violin. These are quite well known by everybody, and plenty of paintings of musicians composing music. These paintings are also there in her collection. So if we just try to look at her contribution, it is just amazing. And whilst composing a tribute for her certainly became a challenging job for me. So, as always, a finest pianist, my teacher, Mr. James Billingham, me and James sat down together and we discussed about it. And James did help me to shape the narrative as well, because I wasn't aware that she had this huge contribution in this particular genre. And how for composing the music, we discussed about it. Queen took her last breath in Balmoral Castle in Scotland. Scottish Highland was very dear to her heart. So after having a good discussion with James, then I sat down, thought about it, and what I did, I actually borrowed the tune of a very well-known Scottish song, Skyboat song. And I thought that I will incorporate that in this little musical piece, which I'm going to compose, which I was composing that time for her. And I have added 2 more English air. One is Vaughan Williams' O Test and See, and a bit of British Grenadier, because she used to love regimental march music. But I improvised all 3 of those tunes and tried to make it a musical drink which has got a very strong Scottish flavour, because Princess Eugenie once said that she used to be really happy. She had her best moments in Balmoral Castle because she used to love Scotland so much. She had her great moments with Prince Philip there. So without the Scottish flavour, I don't think I would have been happy making a musical drink for her. And from my side, I've just added few notes and kind of played with kind of borrowed the tune and tried to make a little tribute which is very dear to my heart as a lover of Western classical music. So I will play that for you in my musical section. And when I remember her, not me, everyone in this world, we always think that she was there for us. She was there when we celebrated a proud moment, a happy moment, and she was there for us when the black cloud of COVID shrouded the sky of United Kingdom. She said to all of us, we will meet again. So keeping that in mind, let us meet again in the musical section, and where she took her last breath in Scottish Highland, I will start with that tune to communicate with her. Thanks very much for listening. Thank you, and we shall meet her again in the musical section. Bye for now.